In society, women are taught from the time that they can even start to speak what it looks like to have standards. Don't go for this from a man. Don't allow a man to treat you this way. Don't allow for a woman to treat you that way. But as men, those things are not as often taught. Men are not really taught to have standards. They're just taught to meet the standard of what they're supposed to be for a woman. They're told how to support. They're told how to provide. They're told how to be tough. They're told how to be strong. And even in some of those ways, they're toxic. But I want to provide an alternative perspective. Men, we have to have standards too. It's okay to have red flags that deter you away from a woman. It's okay to not allow for a person to be a certain way just because they're beautiful or just because they have a couple of good qualities over here. You don't have to settle for what makes you unhappy because society deems it as acceptable. You do not. And one thing that I want to talk about today is, as a man, when choosing a woman, don't be fooled by the honeymoon phase. And I'm not talking about the honeymoon after marriage. I'm talking about when you first meet a person. And women, you can take from this too. When you first meet a person and they're checking off all the boxes, everyone can do that. Everyone pleases you when they first meet you. Don't jump into a relationship, or for even more severity, don't just drop down on a knee and propose because you've had a good couple of weeks or you've had a good first 2 months with a person. Allow for the smoke to clear. Allow for the dust to settle. I'm not saying they're the wrong one, but what I am saying is you alleviate a lot of unnecessary tension and you can iron out a lot of wrinkles if you allow for time to just take its course. In the book of 1 Corinthians, Paul talks about something that a lot of people love to say. It's better to marry than to burn with desire. But what he also talks about in that same passage is a word that I want to introduce y'all to. It's called the betrothed, right? That word is in reference to engagement. So when you get down on the knee and you decide that the person is the one, and that becomes your fiance. A lot of people say fiance is nowhere in the Bible. That's incorrect, right? So it talks about the betrothed. And what he says essentially is those who can remain patient in that stage before marriage will receive a great reward from God versus those who choose that it's better to marry than burn with desire. When you marry it because you burn with desire, you are essentially saying that intimacy, that physical intimacy is the reward that I choose instead of what God has to pull down from heaven for me, right? So what he's saying is patience is the greater reward. And then he finishes off by saying, if you can stay single though, stay single because this is the best way to be. So he gives you the tiers. You can marry because you're impatient. You can remain engaged until the time is right to be married, or you can be single. Perfection in ministry is to be single. But I'm not saying that you shouldn't get married. What I'm saying is patience is a virtue. Men, allow for yourself to see what she looks like when she's upset. Allow yourself to see what it looks like when she would rather do what her hobbies are than to spend time with you. Is there something wrong with that? No, but her reaction. What does she look like in a time where she feels far from God? What does she look like in a time where she feels like y'all are just not clicking? Again, women, reverse this and it applies to you too. What does this person look like when they're up here with you? What does it look like when they're down here with you? What does this person look like when your career is not as financially stable as it was when y'all first met? These are the type of things to let time run its course. It's not about putting a person to the test. It's about allowing God to show you through life experiences if this person truly is for better or for worse. Don't be fooled by the honeymoon stage and then you jump into something so fast that you end up being condemned by the guilt of regret. Let time run its course. Allow for God to show you through the time that he created and he exists outside of whether or not this is the proper decision to make. Otherwise, you run the risk of dealing with like I said, the guilt of the pain of regret. Don't be that person. Don't be so excited to hop into something that you miss out on the fruits of patience. Because long suffering is one of the fruits of the Spirit in Galatians 5:16. Food for thought. God bless you.